to unwind that ownership structure when we don't have things like a beneficial ownership register to show who are the ultimate people sitting behind these corporate vehicles.
In this picturesque corner of northwest Tasmania, another Asia City client bought up farmland using a secretive offshore trust and company structure.
How the money came in was that a Canadian executive had a fund in Bermuda. The Bermudan fund advanced the money to a Singaporean company which acquired the Australian dairy farm. But when you look at the ownership on paper, the Singaporean company is owned by the trustees, two trustees of two respective trusts in the Isle of Man.
Asia City files reveal the source of funds for the purchase came from Canadian Stephen de Heinrich, who was a director of international oil giant Addax Petroleum.
We are an international oil and gas exploration and production company.
In 2007, two senior Addax executives admitted to bribing a former Nigerian oil minister for lucrative contracts. De Heinrich made a fortune after the company was sold for $7 billion.
Addax Petroleum, maximizing value for all.
The Tasmanian farms were sold back to local owners this year for nearly double the purchase price.
Does the Australian government really know who owns property in Australia?
No, probably not. And it's one of the advantages of having opaque structures like companies. They're both, again, they give an air of legitimacy. That's owned by a foreign company, so it must be okay. But then you get a string of companies. And then you'll get companies who are owned by nominees, and nominees aren't often declared. Or there'll be companies who are controlled not by their shareholders, but by their creditors. And so it's hard to actually pick where the control's actually coming from.
Tasmanian Greens Senator Peter Whish-Wilson sat on a recent Senate inquiry into foreign ownership. He says it raised serious questions about the Foreign Investment Review Board's ability to properly monitor the flow of money into Australian property.
See, arguably, an estimated billions of dollars flow into Australian real estate that's dirty money, and that money pushes up house prices, it makes houses less affordable for your average Australian, and it's certainly not good enough that the government knows there are flaws in our legislation. There are exemptions that need to be removed, or loopholes is probably a better word for it, that need to be removed, yet they drag their feet in doing this.
Now, what that means is, in real terms, that means that your children or yourself might be going to buy a property, and when they're at auction, there could be a person there in a suit looking very, very sharp and legitimate, but they could be a proxy acting for a foreign kleptocrat or a politically exposed person. Now, because there's no regulation of any of the gatekeepers in that transaction chain, that poses a huge risk to Australia.
And I think the outrage that would be expressed by Australians if they knew that corrupt money was buying their local jewels in the crown and competing against locals at auctions. I think they'd be furious about that.
The secrets of companies like Asia City rarely become public unless someone decides to take the massive risk of leaking confidential documents.
The source wanted two things. First of all, the source wanted anonymity, I presume for safety reasons. And the second thing is that I was told that he wanted to make these documents available to governments all over the world. And this was the best way of doing it, by going to journalists.